Some kids sneak into concerts, others into movies. Leo wandered into a Harvard math lecture. He didn't mean to, not at first. He was supposed to wait in the hallway while his dad finished the night shift mopping floors. But when one of those massive wooden lecture doors swung open and voices spilled out like a river of logic, something inside Leo pulled him forward. He was 10, maybe 11 if you counted the months he'd spent drifting through shelters. Hoodie too big, sleeves dangling past his wrists, sneakers taped at the toe. But those eyes, bright, sharp, alert, locked onto that room like it held the answer to a question no one else had asked. He slipped in without a sound. A shadow. A ghost beneath the oak-paneled walls. No one noticed him. And why would they? Just another kid from the cleaning crew. Unseen. But Leo didn't hover in the back. He walked straight to the front and sat like he belonged there. At the podium stood Dr. Adrian Monroe. Cold. Precise. Respected enough that people whispered his name like a title. Rumor was he once turned down the Fields Medal because he didn't care for applause. He wore a gray blazer and the kind of stillness that silences rooms. This equation, Monroe began, tapping the board with chalk, has defied every grad student this semester. If you're hoping for a soft pitch, wrong department. The class chuckled uneasily. Leo didn't. He was staring at the board. Variables nested within variables. Functions bent backward into themselves. Greek letters dancing in loops that twisted like illusions. Where others saw noise, Leo heard music. He tilted his head, whispered the symbols under his breath like lyrics. Something inside clicked. Not the solution, but the rhythm, the pattern underneath. Then he did something bold. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a busted mechanical pencil. Its grip half melted, the eraser chewed down to metal. He started writing. Not answers, structures, frames. He began untangling the loops, shifting variables like puzzle pieces, sketching not the solution, but the shape of one. Beside him, a grad student named Callum caught a glimpse and froze. "What are you doing?" Callum whispered. Leo didn't stop writing. "I think the loop fails when it references itself on prime intervals." "What?" Callum stared, then raised his hand. "Professor?" Monroe looked over, annoyed. "Yes? I think someone found a pattern." "Someone?" Callum hesitated. "The kid." Monroe's eyes dropped like a blade. "The what?" Then he saw Leo. They locked eyes. Silence swept the room. Monroe descended slowly, step by step. He stopped in front of Leo, took the paper, and read. A minute passed. Then Monroe said low and sharp, "Interesting." "I wasn't trying to interrupt," Leo said quietly. "I just like numbers." "Who are you?" "Leo." "That's not what I asked. I'm nobody. My dad works here." More silence. Then Monroe turned back to the board, wiped part of the equation clean, wrote in new lines, Leo's lines. "This isn't a solution," he said, "but it's disturbingly close." He looked at Leo again. "What are you doing tomorrow at 5? "Dinner. With my dad." "Bring him. Room 814. Don't be late." Then he walked away. The class exploded in whispers. Leo didn't move, didn't smile. He just stared at the board, like it had always been waiting for him. That night, he didn't sleep to cartoons or games. He stayed up, flipping through a battered math textbook he'd found in a free bin outside Cambridge Library. Right before sleep took him, he whispered into the dark, "I want to see the world the way numbers do." Marcus sat stiffly in the chair, clearly uncomfortable. His knees too far apart, hands fidgeting near the place where a wedding band used to be. "Professor," he began, voice rough, "I appreciate you meeting us. But if Leo's in trouble—" "He's not," Monroe cut in, sharp as a blade. Then he turned to Leo. "I'm not here to punish you," he said. "I'm here to understand. What exactly did you see last night?" Leo hesitated. "You mean the equation?" Monroe nodded. "The same one that stumped every grad student and 2 visiting fellows. How did you isolate the recursive primes?" Leo shrugged. "It looked wrong." "Wrong how?" Leo tilted his head. "Like when a song hits the wrong note." Monroe's eyes narrowed. "You compare math to music?" "Sometimes," Leo said. "They both repeat, but not the same way. It's patterns with a reason." Monroe leaned back slowly, watching the boy. Marcus turned to his son, as if hearing a language he'd never known Leo spoke. "And where'd you learn that?" Monroe asked. Leo paused. "Nowhere. No tutors? No contests? No online courses?" "Nope," Leo said. "Just books. And sometimes I watch people solve stuff on YouTube or from hallways when they don't see me. And you just take it in? Leo nodded. I think about it, even in my sleep. For a moment, the room stilled. Then Monroe rose and crossed to the whiteboard. He picked up a marker, drew a new equation, shorter but still complex, and said without turning, "Come here." Leo stood. His sneakers made soft taps on the tile. Find x. Leo studied the problem, then picked up a blue marker. He worked calmly, step by step, not racing but not hesitating either. He made one mistake, caught it, scribbled a quick note beside it. Negative root breaks in real field. Monroe studied the correction, then studied the boy. He wasn't curious anymore. He was convinced. "Leo," he said, "I have a question." Leo looked up. "Okay. Do you want to learn?" Leo frowned. "I already do." "No," Monroe said, shaking his head. "Not from the sidelines. I mean real learning. In a classroom. With guidance. With tools. With people who expect you to grow." Leo glanced at his dad. Marcus cleared his throat. "We can't afford—" "You wouldn't have to," Monroe said. "If Leo qualifies for the program I have in mind, there's a private fund. No costs, no paperwork. But the entrance exam is tough." Leo's eyes lit up. "When?" "Next month." Marcus leaned in, guarded. "What's the catch?" Monroe raised an eyebrow. "If he fails, there's no do-over. And even if he passes, Harvard doesn't bend for 10-year-olds. Marcus sighed. "He's just a kid." "No," Monroe said, locking eyes with Leo. "He's an anomaly, and anomalies don't wait for permission." He turned back to the board, wiping it clean. "I want to mentor him, but only if he wants it more than comfort, more than safety, more than blending in." Leo stared at the blank board. Then quietly, "I'm not scared to fail." Monroe smiled. "Barely." "Good," he said. "Then let's go make the world uncomfortable." That night, Marcus walked beside Leo in silence. His son bounced along the curb, whispering prime numbers under his breath like prayers. At home, Marcus sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at overdue bills. He rubbed his eyes and muttered, "I didn't raise a prodigy. I just tried to keep him warm." In the next room, Leo lay under a blanket with a flashlight, solving problems from Monroe's notebook. He didn't understand them all, but he understood enough to know he couldn't stop now. Something inside him had changed. Or maybe it had finally been named. "She cracked it in under 20 minutes? Dean Marshall raised an eyebrow. "Genius doesn't mean stable," she added. "No," Monroe replied, calm. "But it means spark, and our job's to catch sparks before the dark does." Marshall folded her arms. "If he fails, you clean it up." Monroe nodded. "He'll walk out with dignity. But if he passes—" She paused. "You think he will?" "I don't think," Monroe said. "I already know." In the testing room, Leo hit problem 4. It wasn't looking for an answer. It was looking for meaning. Most students got stuck here, chasing numbers, missing the question inside the question. But Monroe had taught him something else. Not every equation is a door. Some are mirrors. Leo took a breath and wrote, "If a problem loops forever, maybe it's not wrong. Maybe it's just asking you to rethink time." He stared at it. Was it right? Maybe. Was it real? Yes. He kept going. By hour 3, his hands ached, legs numb, brain throbbing. But he didn't stop. Because this wasn't about showing off. It was about seeing if he belonged in a world that had never said, "You might." At 11:58, Leo dropped his pencil. The paper in front of him didn't look like schoolwork. It looked like a map of his mind. The proctor walked over, picked up the pages and glanced at the top. Leo Martinez. No middle name. No titles. Just Leo. "Finished?" Leo nodded. The man paused. "Good luck." Leo didn't reply. He didn't need to. He'd already done the hardest part. He'd shown up. That night, Leo didn't sleep. Not from nerves, but because something inside had shifted. He used to solve problems to escape the world. Now, he solved them to enter it. He sat on the rooftop, notebook open, eyes locked on Harvard's distant towers glowing against the night. Then his phone buzzed. One line. Unknown number. "You didn't just pass. You outscored every applicant. Welcome to the other side." Leo stared at it, then picked up a pencil. In the corner of the page, he drew a small doorway. Then, a wide-eyed stick figure standing in front of it. This time, the door was open. Harvard didn't do welcome parades. Just a student ID swinging around his neck and the slow creak of heavy doors closing behind him. He walked the math building like a ghost. Everyone around him spoke in codes, References, inside jokes, caffeine-fueled jargon. They didn't look down, except at his shoes. Worn thin, frayed, one duct-taped at the toe. In the hallway, a tall student brushed past him hard. "Watch it, kid." Leo blinked. "Sorry." The boy stopped. Actually looked at him. "You lost? This is math, not daycare." Leo didn't answer. Sometimes silence is sharper than explanation. His first class was nonlinear systems. Dr. Clean didn't blink. "You're late." Leo checked his watch. "I'm 4 minutes early." She raised a brow. "Then solve this." She turned, filled the board with complex functions. The room stilled. Leo stepped forward slowly, studied, waited, then picked up the chalk. He didn't rush. He built the answer one line at a time. When he finished, the board glowed with clarity. Dr. Cleany nodded. "Correct. There's a faster path," Leo said. "But I didn't want to skip." Someone in the back laughed. "Not unkind. Not yet." "The world won't apologize for the sneakers," Monroe said. "But it might squirm. Use that." Leo stood by the whiteboard, thinking, then quietly erased one of the matrices. "I think I want to teach someday." Monroe raised a brow. "Why?" "Because most people only teach the loud ones. I want to teach the quiet ones, too." There was a pause. "There's a seminar next week," Monroe said. "Problem solving under constraint. You should attend." "I'm not enrolled." "I didn't ask if you were." That night, Marcus sat across from Leo at their kitchen table. "How was it?" he asked. Leo shrugged. "Good. That bad, huh? They don't think I'm supposed to be there." Marcus leaned back. "They're not wrong. Just not for the reason they think." Leo looked up. His father's eyes were tired, but steady. "You're not supposed to be there," Marcus said, "because no one wrote you into their story. Kids like you, sons of janitors, we're not on the page." Leo said nothing. "But that doesn't mean you're wrong for showing up," Marcus continued. "It just means you'll have to write your own chapter." Leo's fingers gripped his pencil. "Then I'd better make it worth reading." Marcus smiled. "That's my boy." 2 days later, Leo stood at the back of the seminar room, notebook open, silent. The session was on graph theory under constraint. Students debated definitions. Some circled the problem. One girl doodled. Then Leo raised his hand. A few chuckled. Monroe didn't. He nodded once. "Leo?" Leo stepped forward. "The issue isn't the math," he said. "It's the assumption. Everyone's treating the missing edges as losses. But what if they're variables? Not errors. Options." The room went still. "Show us," Monroe said. Leo did. And everything shifted. That night, Maya sent him a message. "You just shut down a room full of PhDs. In duct-taped sneakers." Leo replied, "Maybe now they'll hear what I've been whispering all along." On a Monday, he submitted a quiet solution to a complex combinatorics problem, one that had stumped the department for weeks. He didn't show off. Just folded the page and slipped it under the seminar door. The next morning, the department board read, "Problem number 47. Solved L. Martinez." Silence. Then a smirk. Then murmurs. "This is bull," Richard said, pacing outside Monroe's office. 2 semesters I've worked on that, and now some janitor's kid cracks it overnight? "Have you seen his shoes?" someone muttered. "He's a PR stunt. Harvard's hoodie genius." Maya, just around the corner, clenched her fists until her knuckles turned white. By noon, an anonymous complaint had been filed. Claim, academic dishonesty. At 1:13 p.m., it landed on Dean Marshall's desk. She didn't respond. She forwarded it to Monroe. Beneath it, one line, "If he's a fraud, it's your legacy." Leo was pulled from class at 2:05. He sat across from Monroe, notebook clutched tight. "They think you cheated," Monroe said. Leo didn't flinch. "I didn't." "I know. But knowing isn't proof, and proof rarely favors the accused." Leo nodded. "What do I do?" "What you always do," Monroe said. "Solve it." That night, Leo didn't go home. He stayed in room 2.14 until nearly 4 a.m. Chalk dust covered his sleeves. His fingers cramped. He didn't just resolve the problem. He documented the journey. Every wrong turn, every correction, every doubt. When he finished, he taped it to the wall. A sticky note beside it. "You don't have to trust the answer. Just believe I walked the road." By morning, Maya had posted a photo to the student board. This is what genius looks like. Not polished. Just real. By noon, it had 1,000 views. By evening, even Dean Marshall had seen it. Her reply to Monroe, "He made me believe." 2 days later, the ruling came in. No fraud. All work original. And when Leo walked into class, No one laughed. Not because they were afraid, but because they'd seen it. The work, the truth, the dust behind the brilliance. Even Richard stayed silent, and for the first time, Leo sat down and heard nothing but quiet, the kind that means they're finally listening. Later, alone in his room, Leo added a new page to his notebook. Title: The Equation of Belief. He didn't fill it with numbers, just one sentence. Brilliance only matters if someone's willing to see past the dust. Harvard had a list. It wasn't published. Not online, not in a brochure. But every student whispered about it. The 10 unsolved problems. 10 riddles. Some decades old. Not impossible. Just untouched. Because they demanded more than skill. They demanded vision. Problem 6 had lasted the longest. A topological dual-state paradox in time-variant graphs. Most professors taught around it. Some called it a beautiful dead end, until Leo found it. By accident. He'd been browsing the faculty library when he came across old lecture notes by a late professor, Anwar Desai, a mathematical mystic. One footnote stood out, handwritten in fading ink. If time flows forward and inward, where do the endpoints meet? Leo whispered. They don't. And something clicked. He didn't tell Monroe. He didn't tell Maya. He just worked. 3 nights. Walls covered in paper. Diagrams. Threads. Tools borrowed from his father's box. Markers from a dollar store. It didn't come in one spark. It came like a storm. Slow. Then sudden. On the 4th morning, he printed the proof unsigned and slid it under Monroe's door. Monroe read it in silence. Halfway through, he stopped reading. He just stared. At the movement. The shape of the mind behind it. It wasn't just correct. It was art. He took it to Dean Marshall without saying a word. She read the first 2 pages, hands trembling. Is this his? Monroe nodded. That afternoon, the department held an emergency review. 5 professors. 1 whiteboard. Leo sat in the back, quiet, invisible, until they called his name. Leo Martinez. He walked to the board. Would you walk us through your solution? He nodded once, then picked up the chalk. He didn't rush. He didn't perform. He translated. Each mark on the board felt like a sentence in a language only he could speak. When he finished, the room held its breath. Dean Marshall stood. In 27 years of teaching, she said softly, I've never seen a problem solved like that. Not with ego, but with clarity. Word spread fast. By morning, the department bulletin read, Problem 6, solved L. Martinez. March 3rd, 10:17 a.m. There was no applause. But the next time Leo walked into class, no one looked at him. They looked to him. That evening, Maya found him outside Sever Hall. You did it, she said. Leo shrugged. I just saw something no one else looked at. That's not what made it genius, she replied. He looked at her. Then what did? You didn't do it to impress anyone, she said. You did it because you had to. Leo looked down at his notebook. In the corner, he had scribbled, Even locked doors make noise if you knock loud enough. The next night, Harvard held a faculty dinner. Leo sat quietly in a suit 2 sizes too big. Dean Marshall raised her glass. In all my years, she said, I've seen brilliant minds. But today, I saw someone solve what the rest of us gave up on. Not because he had to, but because he believed it deserved another look. Applause followed. Monroe leaned over. How's the suit? Leo tugged at the collar. Scratchy. Monroe chuckled. You'll get used to it. Leo smiled. I hope not. That night, Leo returned to room 2.14. He erased the last equation on the board. Then wrote a new line. What else have we abandoned too soon? He left the chalk behind. And the door open. The world only feels broken, Leo said, when you're standing too far away to understand it. He paused, scanning the hushed crowd beneath the lights. I wasn't supposed to be here. Not in these torn-up sneakers. Not as the janitor's kid. Not as a kid who entered through the side door. He smiled softly, not out of pride, but truth. And now, they call me gifted. But I'm not. I'm just a boy who never stopped asking why, even when no one had the time to answer. He turned to the blackboard behind him, picked up a piece of chalk, and wrote 5 quiet words. What else can't we see? Then he turned back to the audience. Sometimes, he said, the biggest breakthrough doesn't happen on a whiteboard. It happens between who we were and who we're brave enough to become. The room stood as one, and for the first time, Leo didn't feel like a visitor. He felt seen. The next day, the video had gone viral, but Leo didn't check. He was back in room 2.14, explaining recursive loops to a sophomore named Brendan. Brendan didn't ask about interviews or views. He just wanted to pass his final. And Leo? He just wanted to help. This was the real equation. Purpose equals knowledge times service. The room hadn't changed. Same flickering lights, same faint scent of chalk. But the air was different now. He wasn't alone. 5 students sat scattered across the room, one in a desk, one on the floor, one hiding behind the hood of an oversized sweatshirt. One had been told they weren't college material. One hadn't raised their hand in 2 semesters. One had no home address. Leo stood before them, no title, no press. Just a boy with a piece of chalk. He had taped a note to the student board earlier that week. Midnight math, room 2.14. No tests, no grades, just growth. Come as you are. They came. He began not with instruction, but a question. Who here thinks recursion makes no sense? Every hand went up. Leo grinned. Perfect. That means you're ready. He drew a spiral on the board. Recursion isn't just repetition, he said. It's about return, coming back to the beginning, but this time, with more understanding. A quiet voice asked, and if you don't come back better? Leo nodded. Then you try again. That's the whole point. For the next hour, they solved together, passing ideas like a rhythm. No competition, no pressure, just possibility. At 1:41 a.m., the girl in the hoodie stood. I think I found something, she whispered. She corrected a line no one else had caught. Leo stepped back. That's incredible, he said. I missed it. Her eyes didn't light up with pride. They lit up with belief. At 2:06, the room was quiet again. Not because they were tired, but because they finally felt full. You don't need permission to belong in a place like this, Leo said. You just need the courage to stay. No one replied. They didn't need to. After they left, Leo stayed. He erased the board slowly. Then in the corner wrote, She spoke in the dark. And someone answered. Below it, a final line. Midnight Math Society. Session 1. He left the lights on. And the door unlocked. The next morning, Monroe found the note. He read it. Then walked away. Quiet. A week later, Dean Marshall handed Leo an envelope. Inside, a certificate. Unofficial mentor. Department of Mathematics for teaching the ones no one else sees. Leo looked up. Guess that means I'm on the syllabus now? She smiled. Yes, you are.